All right, folks, today is Friday, December 15th, 2023. It's just after 3 p.m. Pacific. Market's been closed for a couple of hours now. And as you can hear from my voice, I have a little bit of a bug, but we're going to get through this. So let's take a look at the account and see where we are with the $1 million portfolio. As of market close today, the $1 million portfolio made an all-time high. We're sitting at $1.1 million in the account. So this is up about 10.4% roughly from where we started, a lot higher for year to date, just because the last 30 days or so have just been amazing in the market for the portfolio and everything else. It's been a pretty crazy November. That's all I can say. If you're looking at this balance, though, you'll notice that I have about $719,000 sitting in cash. So what I had done last time was that instead of buying back into the gold, the indexes were just getting beat the heck out of them. And rather than buying into gold, I actually picked up more of the NASDAQ 100 and actually even picked up some of the leveraged NASDAQ 100. And I've just been riding it. But with the Fed decision this week to hold rates steady and to indicate that they may have a couple of interest rate cuts for us in 2024, this is really the time for me to really rethink about how I'm going to rebalance this portfolio. It's been my intention to get out of the leverage triple Qs and get back to my allocation. But with what's happening in the recent weeks, I really have to give some thought in my investment policy statement to see if I want to make any tweaks to these adjustments. The main reason is that I think this is probably a good time to have a little bit heavier allocation to long-term bonds. And this is actually an interesting topic for me because I think in the last 2 months, I've had a bunch of different people ask me if they should do anything with their long-term bonds. Long-term bonds were just getting the heck beat out of it for the last 20, 24 months, right? And it's only in the last month or so that they've gone up ridiculously. They've probably done the best of all the asset classes in the last 30 days. I think this is the reality that people are recognizing that we're at the end of the rate hike cycle, and that if you're holding long-term bonds, you're going to have a lot of capital appreciation on the upside when rate starts to go down. But until we actually got to this moment, there was a lot of people who were really nervous about it and reached out to me separately asking if they should stay the course with long-term bonds. And looking at my account, you see that I roughly have kept to my allocation, and I'm just riding it out. I think that the mindset should be that when you're investing into something, and especially if you're adding more money to it over time, you want to be in a market where things are going down because it means that you're going to be picking up more shares cheaply. And if you have done that and then everything turns and pops back up like it did in the last month or so with the long-term bonds, you're going to see a huge potential upside. And it was interesting because I ran into someone just recently who told me that the worries on the long-term bonds have now subsided, right? And it's just one of those things where it's so hard when you're in the middle of it that you don't really know what to do. But for me at least, I've stuck with the allocation to the long-term bonds. It's still down, from when I started picking this up in 21. Just because we have had rate increases, right? So you're going to lose some value there. But I think this is the time for us to see the turnaround in that. May not happen right away, but I think it's going to happen. The reason I did get out of the triple Qs, the leveraged NASDAQ 100, as well as my regular NASDAQ 100, is that I really am thinking about maybe reducing my allocation to the NASDAQ 100 by 10 percentage points. So my allocation is 50% NASDAQ 100, 25% long-term bonds, 15% gold, and then 10% REIT or value stocks. But what I'm thinking is that maybe I would take 10% off of that NASDAQ 100 growth allocation, high growth, and put it towards long-term bonds. So it would be something more along the lines of 40% to the NASDAQ 100, 35% to bonds. And the reason that I think that may work, and I'm not sure that it will actually even do that. I really have to give it a think, and then if I do, I'll update my investment policy statement for this account, make sure that it gets reflected, and essentially give myself permission to do so. But my reasoning is as follows. If we believe what the Fed is saying, that this is it for rate hikes, and that they're actually looking down the road to start decreasing rates again and bring it more in line with equilibrium, then if you're holding long-term bonds, you're going to see a huge upside on the capital gain side. The other thing is that with this rally that we've just had in everything, not just the long-term bonds, but equities as well, the valuation is just pretty high for equities. And if you have high valuation, the future returns are not expected to be very great, right? And if that's the case, should I reduce equity exposure a little bit and shift that to the long-term bonds? I don't know. That's kind of where I'm leaning, but no hard decisions yet. So for now, I am just going to put this in the money market for the next couple of weeks, and then I'll decide after the new year, and we'll get on to rebalancing this portfolio properly. But I did find it interesting that so many people have asked me about long-term bonds, in the very recent past, and now that it's had this huge rally, everybody's less worried about it. So in any case, I'm going to take my wins and just celebrate, because it was a rough year for what I was doing in this particular account. I think if you held, you would have done fine. I clearly didn't, and I made some moves recently that paid off, but that's no guarantees, right? You would have been way better off if you just kind of stuck to the allocation for the entire year. I don't think I've actually done the math to see what the return would have been if you stuck with it, but you would have gotten a better return than what I saw this year. And this year I saw a pretty decent return even in this account. So there you go. That's the update for December. The next one will be after the new year, and we'll do our rebalancing. I think normally I do it in February, but I may cheat a little and just push it for 1 month. It's not going to hurt anything. But I'll really give this a think and let you guys know what I do next month. All right, thanks, and I'll check you on the next one. Later.